This is Eli Bosnick, and you're listening to the All About Nothing podcast.
This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is brought to you by GOT Sound Studio. GOT Sound Studio offers a variety of experiences: music, voice and instrumental recording and production, video and still photography. GOT Sound Studio has all of your media needs met. Owned and operated by Dominique Stewart, the Neek the Geek, experienced artists as well as up-and-coming will find everything they need to create. Bring your media needs to one of the most talented producers and engineers in the business, Neek the Geek. You can find details by visiting gotsoundstudio.com or calling 803-243-2302. You can also find links in the Friends of the Pod section of our website. Visit theallaboutnothing.com.
The All About Nothing podcast
may have content and language
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome Nothingers to the All About Nothing podcast. This is episode number 189 here with Preach Jacobs.
What's up?
Thank you, sir, for being here.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here.
Do you have very cool. Where are we?
We are in SoulHAUS. This is an art gallery that me and my partners, Eric and Kat, have in the Vista, 1223 Lincoln Street. So we're in here right before I do my little Sunday DJ thing called Wrecka Sundays. Yeah. To play some vinyl and kind of like have a cool atmosphere for people to check out the art and conversate with some of the artists as well. So,
you have an artist coming in today?
There's a few people that said they were going to stop by. There's an artist named Anthony Lewis, who's technically his piece is right there, and a few other people that said they were going to come by. I have a couple people coming through, a couple of like guest DJs to play some records. So just a real chill, cool environment.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah,
I look forward to that.
Yes,
I look forward to being able to come and attend.
Yeah.
I got to go home and edit this episode.
Well, I appreciate you working so hard.
Yeah. So I'm Barrett Gruber, again, joined by Preach Jacobs. You all please subscribe to the show. Share the show with all your family and friends. That's how we get new listeners. Also, if you can, please consider supporting the show financially by visiting our website and clicking on the support link. And if you can't, please drop a review, hit those 5 stars, give us a thumbs up, or leave us a comment. All of that helps to drive our show higher up in the ratings as a podcast, I guess. So
yeah.
I do have a couple shout outs, and I wanted Zach to be here for this, but he's not, because he and I were both wrong about something. And what we have is we essentially have people that will email us to correct us on things.
Oh boy, that's fun.
So on the episode that Zach and I did before the end of the year, we apparently were talking about Krampus.
Okay.
And
okay, I've heard about this. Yes.
So Matt Villardo, candidate for South Carolina House Seat 26, called me just to correct me on Krampus, whom I apparently mistook for Belschnickel.
Okay.
Yeah, so Krampus is actually a horned anthropomorphic character who accompanies Santa Claus before the December 26th Feast of St. Nicholas, punishing badly behaved children. Belschnickel is another mythical German descent character, I guess. But he doesn't travel with Santa. Apparently, he just visits alone and replaces or represents both the good and the bad. So the giving Santa also versus the horned, crazy Krampus.
Okay. Yeah.
But
that's kind of a funny thing for somebody to correct you on. They're like, listen.
Well, when we're wrong, we're wrong. But yeah, so that was apparently Belschnickel was made popular during the Office episode where Dwight dressed up as Belschnickel, and then apparently like his cousin, I guess, came in as Black Pete, so it's a white guy. And
yeah.
Anyway, so also real quick, 2024, of course, is voting. The election comes up in November. If you haven't already, you need to do it. Check your voter registration to make sure everything's set up, you're in the correct address and everything, so that when you go to the polls, there won't be any issues. You can actually go to our website, theallaboutnothing.com/voter, and you can check your voter registration. So, Preach Jacobs.
What's up, man?
Freelance writer for the Freetimes, published by the Post Courier, hip-hop artist, entrepreneur, and the guy that you want on your trivia team at the bar.
Yeah, I get you all the drinking credits, the like $40 bar tab credits.
Yeah. So we're recording from SoulHAUS, which is an art gallery here, 1223 Lincoln Street, Columbia, right across the street, or right across from Blue Marlin. We are, tell us what this is.
This is an art space that is hyper local. So I would say that 90% of the work in here is from people in Columbia or, in neighboring areas, but the majority of it is people that we know, right? So me, Eric, and Kat, like, we just been appreciators of the arts community, and we just wanted to have an opportunity to give them a space to amplify their works, because whether you're a visual artist or hip hop artist or a singer or a poet, all the artists in Columbia has seemed to always have the same problem: is, do we have a place to be able to express our talents and a place that understands it, right? Because there's sometimes you can go to a venue and they might just provide you with a stage or something, but does the venue really know or care about what we're doing? And the fact that, like, we know and love all these artists, and a lot of these artists in the building are basically people we reached out to personally and to say, yo, here's an opportunity, and they were excited about it. That's pretty much what this is: a very, very hyper local art gallery amplifying the voices and visual artists of Columbia.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I'm not a huge art person from the perspective that I understand what it is I'm looking at, but I recognize what I like and what I think is really, really talented. You pointed out the artist right here, and I enjoy this painting, which is looks like a couple kids playing street ball.
Yeah.
And to me, it kind of just speaks to the I guess just the nostalgia of baseball and how kids enjoy it and things like that. But it's a really cool piece of art, and I know that based on the colors that were used and the images that you see and the characters that you see in it, that there is a representation there that maybe I don't fully understand, but I like it.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. It's like all of us, me and my partners, we are all different with our art taste. And I think that the cool thing about it is, if somebody walks in here, I want someone to see themselves, right? Something is going to resonate with you, and again, it's like, I think this is also a great opportunity for artists or fans of art to figure out a way to invest in original artwork.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like a lot of like the national artists or international artists, you can't buy an original from them. And we are not understanding, or at least me, when I first started collecting kind of in the recent past, the only thing I could afford were like limited edition prints, and I'm a big like pop art person. So I love the Shepard Fairey stuff, which might have been seen as lowbrow or something like that in the past. But, I think kind of what you're saying is like, figure out what you like and then reverse engineer it and figure out, why do I like this, So yeah, I think this is dope. And plus, I think the cool thing about this space is it's an opportunity to kind of just bring people together. So not just be an art gallery, but be kind of a space, a hub for creative minds and creative people to talk about doing fly shit in the city. Yeah,
no, it's really exceptional. So before we get into some more of the what it is that you all are trying to achieve here, next Monday, Martin Luther King
MLK Day.
Yeah, what is it you've got going on?
So I partner up with Chef Hector, who's one of my favorite culinary artists in the community, and he's over at the Aristocrat, and we talked about kind of collaborating and having like a cool idea for something. So he's just like, I want to do something for MLK Day. He's like, I think Martin Luther King would have liked fish fries. So I want to do like a fish fry and do this and have like this whole cool menu.
Yeah.
And I'm providing music. So I have this campaign of just wanting to play vinyl at places now.
Sure, yeah.
So, I'm going to have some turntables out there. Going to have a couple of DJs with me. Chris Winter and a homeboy of mine out of Charlotte named Flocka Slagles.
Very cool.
And it's gonna be dope. So it's free. You get to get really, really cool food. They're gonna have like a special menu for the Aristocrat for that evening. And I think this is happening. I'm gonna have a drink named after me. It's gonna be called the Preach. But the Preach for what I proposed, so it's not too crazy, is it's gonna be an old fashioned, but you're gonna be using Uncle Nearest rye whiskey for it. So yeah, so Uncle Nearest is the black-owned company that under the Jack Daniel's umbrella.
Yeah.
So it's basically old fashioned with a black bourbon, pretty much. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's gonna be January 15th. I'll send you the flyer and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be dope. I'm really excited about it.
What time again?
7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Yeah.
And where is it again?
The Aristocrat, which is literally across the street from us.
Yeah.
Around the corner. So yeah.
All right. So tell me about your partners.
Eric and Kat are a married couple, and Eric is known as someone that is a restaurateur. So you got bourbon, you have Black Rooster, you have Dragon's Room, and I just always love the spots that he's a part of, and I'm kind of like, yo, like anything that he sees that is a deficiency in the community, he knows how to kind of fill in some of those gaps.
Yeah.
And so, we've been friends like forever, and I've been talking about, the idea of a gallery space in Columbia, and we talked about trying to collaborate and figure it out. And then this opportunity for this space came up. This space used to be If Art Gallery, and Wim used to own this spot, and he passed away unexpectedly about a year or so ago. And then this space was taken over after that by Michaela Brown from Mike Brown Contemporary. And when she moved out next door, this became a space that me and my partners, it made sense because we know everybody that was involved with this area. We used to be on the board of 701cca and really, really lovers of the arts community. And, we wanted to keep this as an art space. So it was pretty much that. It's just, art appreciators figuring out, all right, does this make sense to do? And it does. Let's reach out to a lot of these artists, which a lot of them are our friends or people that I've worked with before. So a lot of people that's on the wall, like I work with them for graphic design work or doing original commission stuff, that type of thing. And these are relationships of me being involved in the art community for over 20 something years, and Eric and Kat being lovers and purchasers of art since I don't know when, you know what I mean? So, it just all made sense. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it's in the Vista means a lot. The fact that it's in a space from an old friend that passed away, and keeping that legacy of the building, I think that was something that was really important to all of us.
Yeah. Where'd you get the name SoulHAUS?
It was really funny because Kat came up with it. Like we were trying to figure out kind of the combination of like our ideas and our tendencies and our loves or whatever. And so like my moniker for all the stuff I do is called Mo Better Soul.
Right.
And soul is usually kind of just, it feels black, even though it's not necessarily a black word, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you hear it, you just kind of like, all right, there's a little seasoning on the chicken. But it was just one of those things we were trying to figure out something. And so Kat came up with the idea. It's like, let's call it SoulHAUS, and house spell it as the art movement. I think it's a German. Yeah. And it kind of just made sense when you put those two things together. So I think between our tendencies and our taste, it just felt like it made sense.
Yeah. How many local artists are you all spotlighting right now?
I don't know.
Estimate?
I don't know the number. I know it's on the website, but I would probably say it's probably a dozen people in here right now with multiple works. So I could be wrong, could be more, could be less, but when people come in here, and we made it, and we wanted it to be like this, like the walls are full.
Yeah.
So we want it when the doors open to it feels fully functional, and you're kind of like, it's like a bear hug of art as soon as you walk in the building.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
So so I don't know that number, but I know it's a lot.
How many of them are first time having their art hung in a gallery?
I don't know. I know there's a couple people that I know that I don't know if it's their first time in a gallery, but I know it's their first time in Columbia. So there's like a brother sister duo, Daniel and Lauren Andreu. I don't know if they've presented anything in Columbia, but that was kind of a special thing to have us in here. So I think Lauren's piece is here, and the brothers is that Ali and that Kobe Bryant over there.
Those are good.
So they do murals around the country, and I don't think they've had stuff in Columbia. Those two pieces there is an artist named Chris Charles, who's out of Durham, North Carolina, but he's someone that I've worked closely with, and I know he hasn't had anything in Columbia. He's like an amazing photographer and videographer that I just want to have his stuff in here. Tara Singh, who's out of Asheville. So like it's, there's a regional aspect to it as well, but then it's also people that I've known and loved for years is Sammy and Dre Lopez, that have amazing artwork in here, and it's just, I don't know, it just feels like it makes sense.
Yeah. It's now I noticed the Firefly painting downstairs is gone.
Yeah,
I assume that went to a good home.
I hope so. Yes. I don't handle the sales.
It was a beautiful painting, and being here in Columbia, South Carolina, where you got the Columbia Fireflies, and of course the national park down there with Congaree, which apparently you have to get lottery tickets in order to get a spot to be able to watch the Fireflies.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay, look at that.
It's a little disappointing because I don't ever do it. So the mission of SoulHAUS is to really intensify the availability of people to recognize hyperlocal art as well as regional. What is, I guess, some of the background in as far as your background when it comes to artwork like this, to local art? I know we talked before that the only availability you ever had was like prints of things, but like what is it about the work of art, or what is it about the artwork that really drives you to want to push that so other people experience that?
Well, about 10, 12 years ago, I did an event called ColaCon. Okay. And it was a hip hop comic book convention. And it was trying to show the two worlds of hip hop and comics. And at the time, it seemed to be like this really crazy idea, but kind of like over the years, you started to see these combinations of hip hop and comics coming together. Marvel Comics has done something called a variant cover, where you would get a lot of these famous Marvel comic book covers, and then they would get illustrators to draw like hip hop album covers to kind of tie in with them, right? So, and then you have stuff like the Spider-Man movies that came out with Miles Morales is totally, embedded with hip hop culture. I say that to say that 10 or 12 years ago, that wasn't something that was heavily seen as bringing those two things together. And I thought it always made sense, because I always felt like Wu-Tang Clan feels like comic book characters. Like everybody has like these different nicknames and these like code names, and it's very colorful and vibrant. And hip hop, just like the comic book world, is very, very, very competitive, you know. And graffiti culture comes out of hip hop. But one of the things that was important to me was when I did these events and I did these shows. I did them a couple of years at the Museum of Art. I did one at the Convention Center. I did one at 701 CCA, and I brought people like Ghostface Killer the Town, Fight from a Tribe Called Quest here, Dead Prez, Pete Rock. The idea was to have a space for Black and brown creatives in the comic book industry to kind of have a space to showcase their work. I would do these panel discussions from everything from Black and brown creatives in the industry to women in the industry to very neighboring things. So maybe not just comic books, but people that are working on television shows and talking about some of the history of those, that type of thing. But one of the things that I noticed was the amount of artists that have so much great work that didn't have the recognition I thought they deserved. I started ColaCon because of my friend Sanford Green. And Sanford Green, is one of the top comic book illustrators in the world. He worked on that Spider-Man movie. He has a graphic novel called Bitter Root that's won 2 Eisner Awards, and it's being made into a movie right now, and it's like $100 million budget, produced by Ryan Coogler from Black Panther, directed by Regina King. And I say all this to say, I looked up to this guy and nobody knew who he was in my town. Like we could be in Target, buying milk and no one would know him. But when you go to Comic-Con with this dude, he's a superstar, And so I just wanted to have something that was like, if there's amazing talent like this here, let's have something here that can like showcase the work and showcase the art. And it was also a time where I loved a lot of that work, and it was probably seen as very lowbrow, like I said before. So a Sanford Green illustration that's hip hop inspired, I would love to put that on my wall, where if someone who was like, a high society art collector, they might have thought it was beneath them, you know? And I had to understand that everybody had a right to invest in art, you know what I mean? And just because I like something that's not overly expensive or something that's like, not considered as a traditional, beautiful piece of work, I fuck with it. And I think that's important, is to be able to say that there's different creatives that deserve to have a platform for that stuff, and it's just as important. So that was kind of my journey, kind of diving into that world of visual artists and kind of non-conventional. So same thing where I'm talking about pop art, I would put that in the same thing with comic book art, pop art, something that people in my age group and age range and people that love hip hop stuff, we thought that was really dope, but you're not going to see at the time a Shepard Fairey in an art gallery. But then all of a sudden, it's considered fine art now. You know what I mean? So I think that we were kind of ahead of the curve when we were doing like this Colicon stuff, but it taught me like this really, really great lesson of, I've always said this about Columbia artists. I would put the artists of our city and our state against anybody in the Southeast. Our community is just as dope, just as talented as anybody in these neighboring cities. They just probably didn't have the opportunities or, a place like a SoulHAUS to put this shit up. You know what I mean? And so that became kind of like a personal thing for me to want to do. But I've been doing art-related shows and curating events since I can remember, right? I've been doing events in Columbia since I was 14, 15, and I'm 40 now. You know what I mean? So I've always had this relationship with the arts community, whether it's visual, whether it's musical. There's a way that I always felt like it should all be married together.
So if there's somebody out there listening who is a local artist, how would they potentially come about potentially having their art displayed here?
I would say a few things. I think one of the things with the Wrecka Sundays thing that I think is important is engagement, right? Yeah. Because a lot of times you get stuff in an art gallery, my theory is if we have a $3,000 piece on the wall, it's nice for somebody to buy that. I would love for you to buy it. But I also understand that I don't know people that can come in and see something for $3,000 and buy it immediately, right? So what ends up happening when people are investing in the artwork, they got to see it a few times. They got to come around it. They got to be around it. They have to visualize it. And if you're not doing engaging things to bring them back into the gallery, they'll be like, oh, I've been here one time. I don't need to come back, because stuff kind of might stay on the wall for a while. We might, have to wait till we sell something or wait until we do like an exhibit or something like that. So I would say the engagement to come in when we're doing like Wrecka Sundays, when we're doing outreach stuff and being involved in the community, interact with not just us, but interact with other people in the arts community, because that's where you can kind of say, hey, maybe we can put together a show or we can collaborate with like-minded artists. I would also say go to our website, soulhaus.art, or follow us on Instagram and just reach out to us. And Kat's our curator. Well, all of us, have input on what gets up and what comes in here. And we want to make sure that we give artists that we really think are really dope an opportunity, a chance. You know what I mean? So to me, first things first, if y'all see something that we're doing, pull up. And that's why this Sunday thing was really kind of cool, because it's like, I have to understand people's motivations, right? It's football season. So like it's 12 to 3. So it's enough time that you can go to church and come afterwards, and not too long that you're not missing one of the big games,
football
right?
Starts at 1.
Yeah. Granted, yeah. I have my phone on, right? I have my phone on when I'm doing it. I got the NFL ticket on YouTube, but Sunday is kind of like a cool day for that, because it's like one of the names of the gallery we was flipping around with. We was thinking like, would sanctuary be a good name? And we like the concept of the idea of like a sanctuary for artists or whatever. Sure. But also it kind of feels like a little too much at times, where it's just like, the fuck, we're not a church. But under that same thought, we kind of wanted to feel that way. We kind of want artists to come in and feel that type of energy.
This is a safe zone.
Yeah, absolutely. You're one of us. You know what I mean? Like, X-Men is all about mutants saying to other mutants, yo, man, there's regular people and there's us. Right. And everybody's looking at us like we're fucking crazy, right? And you will watch these X-Men movies, and it's like, you will look at regular people as the bad guys, right? Yeah. Like, they're the evil ones. Like, and so I think creative people are mutants in a way. It's like, it's non-conventional. It doesn't make sense to spend hours upon hours painting something and then try to go to a regular 9-to-5 and balance that stuff out. You see some of the stuff on the wall, none of that shit looks normal, but it can be fascinating when you look at it. So like, I think that this is like a place for mutants, whatever Xavier School was called. What was it called? Like
Xavier School for
gifted youngsters.
Gifted, yeah, the gifted.
Yeah. So like that's what we should have called this place. No, but I feel like that in the cheesy terms. I want it to feel like that for artists, and I want it to be inviting for people that don't collect art.
Yeah.
Or wanting to start collecting art. I don't want it to be a situation where they walk in and be like, oh shit, art is this thing that's this grandiose concept that I could never own something. Like, nah, bring your ass in here. And that's where the engagement that I'm really interested in is having the engagement to bring people in here on a regular basis.
So you mentioned Wrecka Sundays. Mm-hmm. Is this the permanent home for Wrecka Sundays?
As of now, yes.
Yeah.
That was kind of the plan in the first place, right? That was shout out to Drip Coffee when we originally did this concept. And the concept was just really, 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 really simple. Like, I'm a DJ in town, and one of the things that's not really fulfilling as a DJ is playing top 40 shit.
Agreed.
Right? So you get called to these clubs, and the money might be cool. You might see some hoes every once in a while. But when you're playing top 40 stuff or shows where you have to appease people that are 20 years younger than you to play songs that I would never listen to on a regular basis or at all, it kills your soul just a little bit.
Yeah.
And so to me, I played at this place a few times. My homeboy, DJ Smitty, DJs at this place called Vinyl, and he'll bring me as a guest DJ once in a blue moon. And it's a place in Charlotte, and it's a vinyl bar, really, really dope. And they got 2 rules. DJs have to play all vinyl sets and no request. And I just love that idea. And vinyl is kind of a way it's a little more curated.
Yeah.
Where if I'm DJing with the controller digitally, if there's a song I don't have, I can download it. If you bring in vinyl, if you ain't got it, you ain't got it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's something about that where you're more intentional, more deliberate. So yeah, I just wanted an opportunity just to play some records because I never have an opportunity to play records in Columbia. And so it made sense to do it at a coffee shop. Sean, who owned Drip at the time, was a huge, vinyl fan and all that good stuff. So it just made sense as we were talking about doing something for a while. Then it just got to the point where I was just like, we need to do it here. You know what I mean? Because my place. So yeah. So this is theoretically this is going to be the home of Wrecka Sundays.
How do the acoustics sound in here?
It sounds great in here. Before we opened, we had a show with the South Carolina Philharmonic, and it was a classical guitar show, and we had like 35 seats in here, and this woman just playing the guitar, and it sounded amazing.
Yeah.
So I think the space. I think that's the other thing too. I think that we'll get to that point of. I want this to kind of be a community space as well, right? Where, hey, poetry reading, book signings, intimate shows, whatever. Like, I think that's something that we probably want to get into as well. That it's not just the art on the wall.
Yeah,
it's a community center type of thing.
There's the opportunity for a venue space.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then the side product of that is that people get to see the artwork and potentially inquire and make purchases and things like that.
Please buy some shit. Please.
No, I ultimately I think this is great, and I was extremely excited for you and for your partners on opening it because this is the third time I've been here. You weren't here one time when I came by. Mm-hmm. I assume you were working. But it was, even walking in here, I think Kat was the one that was here. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get an opportunity to introduce myself because she was talking to somebody about artwork that was downstairs. And but there were still 20 people in here on it was like a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, that's impressive for, one, it was around Christmas time, and the fact that there were still enough people in here that it felt full.
Yeah.
And it seemed as though people were generally interested in what it is they were looking at. And some of them were waiting on Kat. They were waiting on time to talk to her.
I love it.
So, this is honestly, this is my first experience with this sort of idea and venue.
Me too.
Because I've been to restaurants around town where they'll have local artists on the wall, and you can see who those people are, and you could potentially purchase their artwork while you're sitting there eating a meal. But it feels weird at D's Wings.
Because Columbia has a thing where they'll have like spaces for artists or creatives, but it never feels fully invested. Right? It's like, you can have one of these places that would pay a band decent money to play in there, but it's like, hey, play 3 hours worth of cover music. So people can kind of ignore it when they're eating their dinner, or kind of like you said, like I think you got to train the city on how to treat artists, because a lot of times they'll be like, oh, do a live painting while we have this event going on. And like, are you going to pay us for it? No, exposure. You know what I mean? Like it's stuff like that where, and sometimes if you have like people doing, like we had a gentleman that did live artwork, but he chose to do it on our opening night, and we also have his work on the wall. So I'm like, to me, that would make sense because there's connective tissue there, right? It's like, hey, he's not just painting for free or whatever. He's choosing to do it, but you can also buy his shit, right? And have someone like Kat that can talk to you about it and really tell you why it's important. And I think that's the part that you don't get. Like you go to a restaurant, something's on the wall, you're gonna just talk to a waitress about the art on the wall, has no idea what it is, no idea what the story is. So to me, I think it's not just putting something on a wall, it's not just putting somebody on a stage, it's having a space that are really, really campaigning and rocking for you. You know what I mean? So
there's always that weird, awkward, can I get a refill on my Coke Zero? Also, tell me about this.
And she like,
I just started yesterday. So
well, the Instagram page is right there. You know what I mean? So,
I like how your dialect went to a southern white lady.
I mean, for some reason in my mind we had Liz Stickett. I don't know why.
That's fair.
That meeting 3.
So you mentioned Black Rooster. Did I recently hear that they're going to be switching menus?
No, they're not switching menus. They're switching not
genres?
venues, but menus. Now it's Italian. So I don't know when that change is going to be done or not. I don't know why it's happening.
Well, because Al's upstairs.
I was going to say that was my theory.
Al's upstairs is closed.
That's my theory.
And shout out to that entire organization.
Rest in peace to Al's upstairs. Like that was the place. Like fellas, if you wanted to take your girl out, that was the spot. Like if it was like an anniversary or a birthday or something like that, you take them to Al's upstairs. You got a reservation. So much better than taking her to damn Longhorn. like, baby, you want a steak? I like steak. Which, shout out to Longhorn too. Y'all got good steaks. But
you're exactly right.
Yeah, but Al's upstairs was that date place. You take a girl to Al's upstairs, you felt special. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm sad about them leaving now.
You want to talk about some current political stuff with me?
Lord shit. How much time we got?
We got about half an hour.
All right, let's see where my brain goes with this.
Supreme Court to hear Trump's Colorado primary case. Supreme Court agreed to consider whether Colorado can bar Donald Trump from the presidential ballot, taking up a landmark constitutional and political clash stemming from his attempt to overturn the 2020 election. I guess because a lot of people that listen to this show are probably more liberal than Republican or conservative. I have sort of a love-hate relationship with this Supreme Court because I think in some cases they have rendered decisions in a way that I would potentially have rendered them. But in other ways, I see the potential of it falling completely apart under a 6-3 majority of conservative judges.
But that's kind of answering your own question. I think, and the Roe v. Wade situation was kind of a big ass kicker, and I feel like if anything goes to the Supreme Court, Trump could be like, "Hey, I put y'all in here." So that part about it.
Well, in all honesty, he can't. So if I was a Supreme Court judge, which I'm not, but if I were, I would have to have, I guess, some sort of. I'm trying to think of the word, but I would have some sort of pride in the fact that I'm now a Supreme Court judge over the land. And anyone, regardless of the fact that Donald Trump was the one that got the three in there, Barrett and
Yeah.
the other two. But I guess if I would, you can't really blackmail me into that sort of situation.
Well, I think you're missing the glaring thing that's really, really funny about this is that the reason why this is so fucking weird is that no president that appoints someone to the Supreme Court should ever be in a situation where they've done something so horrendous
Agreed.
that you have to go to the Supreme Court to make a decision about
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? So this is, honest to God, if we look back at this, and it's so casual to us now, the amount of precedence that's been set, the amount of like shit that we never thought would happen, I think this is where history is made because we've never seen this.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a conversation about Colorado's like, yo, we're taking you off the ballots because you basically formed an insurrection, fucking treason.
Yeah.
You know? And the fact that he has 90 something counts?
91.
91 counts. Like none of this makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
Right? So quite honestly, I think you're right. Under regular circumstances, you can say, hey, man, Kavanaugh could be, hey, I used to be a beer bro back in the day. I used to do this, but, hey, I need to take this seriously. You know, it's like becoming a parent, I would assume, right? You know, I ain't got no kids, ladies. Please give me a call. But I would imagine, like, you could be a fuck up. And as soon as you like, oh, shit, I'm about to be a dad, that should kind of kick in, right?
Well, okay, so but then in that situation, then you look at somebody like Clarence Thomas,
Yes.
who has basically taken full advantage of his role, has rendered decisions on companies and lawsuits and things like that have genuinely benefited him and his wife and the foundation that she is attached to, and he had it was an RV that was worth 3 of my houses. it was, you know, there's still an investigation into it, but like he has used that almost from day one to benefit himself and render these decisions to benefit those people that have been providing him with vacations and things like that.
Here's my question. Did Bush appoint him? The first Bush?
Yeah.
Okay. Who appointed Thurgood Marshall? When was Thurgood Marshall?
Oh gosh, that was back in the 60s.
Okay.
So so if it's 60s, you're probably looking at Eisenhower or Kennedy.
Well, I say that to say it's like,
And I could be wrong. It could be.
I could be wrong too. But I say this to say, this is the way my brain works with this, and it might be totally wrong, but catch what I'm following. If Clarence was the second black Supreme Court justice, and he's like probably at the time the only black one that was on there, you get a little frivolous because you're like, y'all ain't gonna do shit to me because I'm the only one of us in here, right? You know, like I have the most job security than anybody in here, right? And so I think a lot of times,
It's weird he'd vote against affirmative action.
because there's nothing, and I would say it's not just a black Republican thing. Like I feel like a black Republican thing also falls under the category with me where you would have someone, a successful white person that grew up extremely poor.
Sure.
Right? They have kind of the same ideal where they basically like, yo, I ain't have no motherfucking help. I did this myself. The whole bootstraps theory, right? And I think that you can acknowledge that you had a lot of pitfalls to do certain things, but to not acknowledge that there are certain privileges that people have and certain opportunities that people need. I don't think that's wrong, right? And so somebody like a Clarence Thomas, someone that can probably, because I would say Clarence Thomas and Ben Carson are the same
Sure.
minds, right?
Yeah.
They would oppose something like affirmative action because they're like, oh, I was a black man that even though despite all these odds, or even Tim Scott saying there's no racism in this country. And it's like, you're in a state where Dylan Roof happened.
Right.
And Dylan Roof literally said, hey, this is a motivation for race, right? And so I think the problem that ends up happening is back in the day, politically, you would have people look at a problem and say, hey, here's a problem. but I disagree with how you think of solving it.
Sure.
Right? Now, what happens politically is we say, hey, here's a problem, and someone's saying, oh, I don't think that problem exists at all, right? And I think, like, you can have a conversation about affirmative action. You can have a conversation about, privilege, whether it's white or black, or whether it's, male or female, right? Like, there's certain male privileges that I have that I had to be checked on, right? Like, I never forget, very random, I'm in Japan years ago, and I'm walking around, and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's like these young Japanese girls are walking around at 4 in the morning, and I'm terrified for them. I'm like, why the fuck are y'all walking out so late, right?
That's crazy.
Right? And it becomes this idea where I'm kind of like, should I, like, ask them, are they okay, or whatever? Then I say to myself, oh, shit, I'm an American. Not only am I American, I'm a black American with dreads in my hair. So even me trying to, like, be helpful, I could be the danger to them that I'm trying to warn them against, right? And so I thought of my male privilege of, damn, I could be out 4 o'clock in the morning. I can be afraid that I'm going to get shot, stabbed, robbed, but I never have a fear that I'm going to be raped.
Yeah.
Right? That's a privilege, right? And so when I look at certain things and I look at certain conversations where if women say glaring comments like, oh, men ain't shit, or men blah, 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 and you get the one guy that says, well, you should have said some men ain't shit. You know what I mean? Like
one guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But I say that to say, like, people are so concerned about something hurting their feelings or being directed towards them that they're not hearing what someone is saying, right? And so someone like Clarence Thomas in affirmative action, he could say that he built himself on the bootstraps and he wants to prove to white America, like, I'm not like those other black folks. And then at some point in time, he kind of proves that given an opportunity to abuse power, he's just going to do it.
Right.
And again, I think that looking at the Supreme Court and that idea of this is supposed to be a position that we should respect and revere, I hope that happens, because I think what happened with Donald Trump was the same thing, is that Trump, when he was campaigning the first time, it was all over the place. And the country was saying, at what point does the position take over you and you become presidential? And it just never happened.
Right.
So at this point, like, I just can't wait for Ken Burns to do the documentary about this shit.
No kidding. I seriously hope Ken Burns sticks around long enough to be able to do Ken Burns presents Donald Trump.
Man, look, I mean, I imagine that Ken Burns should do like a pandemic documentary or something.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so
the production value of what they do for those specials is.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, man.
Well, I guess the one of the other things I was going to bring up was yesterday, of course, was the third anniversary of January 6th. And I know we talked about it a little bit, but January 6th. So to date, I think we've seen something like 1,700 charges. There were roughly about 3,000 people that entered the Capitol. There were 10,000 that actually went down to the Capitol from the president, former president's speech, rally, whatever.
Yeah.
And even just as of Friday, there were 4 more convictions in this. And based on court decisions and things like that, I don't think you can recognize what happened on January 6th and not recognize it as an insurrection, as an attempted civil coup of our federal government, because one individual convinced other individuals that became a mob into believing that their rights and their that had been stolen from them.
Well, I can't, this is so crazy to me, because you can't go into a building. I can't run into Target, yell fire,
right,
and people run out. And if they're running out in a rush, somebody gets trampled and dies, I can be charged.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't understand how that doesn't apply politically to this. Right.
So politically, I think that is one of the biggest issues with the whole thing, is because people that are on, say, the side of they were just tourists, they were just in there to visit on a day that it was closed. They were just there to tour the House, just to tour the United States, the building that is owned and run by taxpayers, not. But on that side of the argument, they don't look at it as a political situation. They look at it as this is the evidence that the liberals are trying to use to undermine that guy, President Trump, former President Trump, undermine his ability to run for re-election. And I don't really consider Colorado to be a liberal state. I know that they legalized marijuana first. I know that they've had Democratic governors, but there's a lot of people in Colorado that don't live in Aspen and don't live in Denver.
Well, the thing about
Maine's a Republican state.
Yeah, and I think that what's going to happen is, it's interesting to see what the Supreme Court would do because they're meeting about it, Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested in seeing, because it takes just one state to kind of put it out there and kind of figure it out. I know one state that won't be doing that. South Carolina sure as hell ain't doing that. But I think when we was having the conversation when you were saying about, liberals versus Republicans, I think the issue is I don't think Donald Trump is a Republican.
No.
I think that as soon as we realize that, that conversation is totally different than someone that's just on a different side of a political party, what he's doing insults Republicans, right? and
But how do they ignore? How is it? And you can't answer that question, I'm sure. But somebody asked me one time. They said, "Well, did you support President Clinton?" And I said, if I wasn't able to vote for President Clinton then, but if there was the potential that he was running, or that I could have, if I had been of age, then I probably would have voted for Clinton in '96. Yeah. All right, so abrupt cuts. What are you gonna do?
It's Wrecka Sundays, and I have Jay Live, who's an MC and DJ that came into town, and he's a professional, so he shows up earlier than expected. You know what I mean? So he popped up. We had to set the equipment up, and now he's getting something to eat.
He seems like a good guy.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Well, Wrecka Sundays today, so this will drop tomorrow. But make sure to check out Wrecka Sundays here. Follow your Instagram and SoulHAUS. We'll have links in all the show notes.
You'll see it on the screen popping up right here.
Yeah, that's right. As well, just basically what I was saying before was, people would ask me as far as like, you support Bill Clinton even though he was impeached. You support Bill Clinton even though he did these terrible things, and to which some of them, there's no convictions and things like that. Yeah. But I would say, but he was a good president, and you can look back at history and find where it was. When you look back at Donald Trump's record or what happened in the United States during Trump's presidency, I have a really hard time looking back at that stuff and going, he was a good president, and he did a lot of things that benefited the country. I don't see it, but I have blinders on because of my perspective, I guess.
Yeah. Well, other thing too is that I think is really interesting with Trump specifically. It's like, as a black person in America, we always assume it's just kind of a part of our DNA to be like anti-establishment, anti-government, anti-president. Sure. So there's always this vibe of like, we never, even if we don't agree with the president's politics, I at least felt like the president was at least sane to a certain extent.
There's an amount of respect that you give to the office.
I watched this documentary. If you've never watched it, it's really, really cool. It's about the housing crisis collapse. Vice did it. And they basically was interviewing everybody from like the 2008 housing collapse or whatever. Sure. And so, they're talking to Obama. They're talking to all the people that were involved financially. They were talking to the treasurer, and they were talking to like George W. And it was the most respect I ever had for George W. Because maybe he's been removed from the office so long. He's like, man, I can just chill out and have a hot dog. But he was explaining how he came to certain decisions as far as the housing crisis and how that stuff was going to collapse and all this type of stuff. And I was like, damn, as much as I didn't like George W., because I'm supposed to not like him, I didn't like what happened with Katrina and all these other things, but I was like, he at least sounds competent enough that even if I don't agree with him and don't agree with his politics, I don't have to worry about him I don't know, talking shit to Kim Jong-un and there's like a nuclear war going on because somebody is saying some shit, you know. That's the other thing too about the Republicans. You got like Trump said crazy stuff about Ted Cruz's wife. And then they just kind of turn around and be like, yeah, I support him.
He claimed that Ted Cruz's father was responsible for Kennedy's death.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think same thing about the George W. thing. I saw Ted Cruz on an episode of like, you know, the door is open. Yeah. I saw Ted Cruz on an episode of the Bill Maher show. Yeah. And I was just like, he sounds pretty sound. I might not agree with everything, but like all the performative shit that he usually do where he's like fussing at the liberals and all that type of stuff. I was like, if you acted like this the majority of the time without all of the theatrics, you would make it more of an opportunity for somebody that doesn't necessarily agree with you to listen to you. But as soon as you go in here and you say all this outlandish, I would say incendiary stuff, like it's automatically it's us against them.
What he does in front of a couple reporters is the intent is to trigger his supporters to become more rabid and to trigger his antagonists to also become more rabid. Because ultimately, as long as there is disagreements between the two groups, then he benefits from them.
And the reality is the Republicans and the Democrats, after everything's over, they have drinks at the same places anyway.
Exactly. They're all getting their pockets lined by the same lobbyists. It doesn't any of these individuals that are in office right now that claim that they because I think it was one of the senators said that Ted Cruz was literally the most hated senator or the most hated representative in all of Congress. Like nobody likes him, nobody whatever.
Wow.
But then you see him; they show footage of him walking down the halls. There's people around him. And I assume. Well, I mean, maybe it's his staff, but I don't know.
That's crazy, man.
Well, Wrecka Sundays here at SoulHAUS. SoulHAUS is open. It's Wednesday
through Saturday, 11 to 5, and then Sundays for Wrecka Sundays, 12 to 3.
All right. Yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap it up with our new segment, which is called 7 Questions.
Oh boy!
And these are questions that I ask throughout the course of this year. We will ask every single one of our guests. So the first one is, what was the last thing you Googled?
I was watching. What was I watching? Usually, all right. I know what I was Googling. Hold on, I'll find it.
Because the truth is in what is it? The truth is in the pudding. No, that's not
the truth is
not
in
a cliche.
Your feed.
That's right.
If the internet doesn't move so slow. Where is this? Oh, okay. So I visited my parents yesterday.
Okay.
And they watched the INSP channel, Inspiration Channel, which is nothing but Westerns.
Okay.
And I think the last thing I Googled was Robert Duvall's age, because like my mom and my dad and I were watching Open Range with Kevin Costner and Robert
Fantastic
Duvall.
movie.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely love it. That's why I didn't leave. Like I was visiting
one of my favorites.
And we just sat down and I was like, Duvall has to be at least 90. He's 93 right now.
Yeah.
So him and Clint are up there.
Yeah.
So that was the last thing we Googled.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And the fact that it's one of my favorite Western movies.
I love it.
It's like Open Range and Tombstone.
Absolutely. Those are same page, man.
All right. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh. I think I don't want an outlandish one. Like I don't want to have to fly through the sky or anything like that. I think of like an expense that drives me crazy, right? I wish I had a superpower where I never had to get a haircut again.
Okay.
Right? Like it's nothing big where I'm not gonna use my powers for bad. I'm not gonna like be invisible and walk through a bank or whatever. But like if I can always have a fresh haircut,
okay,
you know what I mean? Like that'd be a really small, simple, but not outlandish superpower.
So follow up question to that: is it because you like the way it feels a haircut, or what you want people to see?
Both. But I also know. You know, I wrote a column about this in the Free Times about my first haircut after the pandemic.
Okay.
Right? And you don't realize, I don't think I'm a vain person, but you don't realize how vain you are until you can't get a haircut for a year and a half, right? And you're just Wolfman jacking it and just looking awful. And you feel like, well, damn, a haircut is self-care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as soon as you get a fresh haircut, you're like, oh man, you know what? I can take over the world. But like, so I think that does something to you emotionally.
We're going to different stylists.
Yeah, right. you get done, you're like, what happened?
I literally last time I got a haircut is almost gotten me to the point where I don't want to go get haircuts anymore. and not that the guy wasn't pleasant. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation we had and everything. But like it's one of those things. I just go in there for a trim, just a little bit, get it off my ears, get it off my neck, that sort of thing. And then he starts putting like product in my hair. And he goes, you put something in here? I go, no, not normally. He goes, I'm going to set you up. Well, you'll see how you like it.
That's usually how it works.
Yeah, and of course I get home and my hair's frayed down and whatnot. And anyway, but yeah, I will go get another haircut at some point. I just have to get over the trauma of the last time. All right, what is your most embarrassing favorite song?
The door is open. All right, I don't know the name of the song, but I'll tell you a funny quick story. So New Brooklyn Tavern, shout out to them relocating to 5 Points when they were still in their old location. Carlin hits me up and he says, "Hey, Preach, I got something for you. I can understand if you don't want to do it because it might be crazy, but I know that I can trust you to rock a party or whatever." I was like, "What do you need?" He was like, "I need you to DJ a Taylor Swift party."
All right.
And in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's a payday for me, but I won't promote it. Like I won't put it on my Instagram or nothing like that or whatever.
Okay.
I shit you not, the most money I ever made at a show.
Dang.
And the most money I ever made with tips. I made like almost $200-something with tips. Like these Swifties, anytime they wanted a song, they would cash at me for the songs or whatever. Anyways, I don't know the name of these songs, but it got to the point where, I DJ'd one of those. The party went exceptional. So then they brought me back to do like a Miley Cyrus one, and then we did another Taylor Swift one. All of a sudden, when I'm out and about and watching commercials and stuff like that, I'm actually singing fucking Taylor Swift songs. And I don't know the names of them. So it was just like, and me as a DJ, I didn't have to blend anything. I just basically like Apple Music download all her shit. So even if you look at my laptop and look at my iTunes history or whatever, you see hip hop song, hip hop album, and then it's Taylor Swift's entire catalog. You know what I mean? So
that's great though. All right, so same thing, embarrassing. What was one of those things that your parents did that embarrassed you the most? And I'll just say this. I'll preface it. I am thankful nobody asks me these questions.
Well, fair enough. I'm trying to think, man. I think out of context shit, right? So like I know if it's like give you an example. This is probably like a not a specific one, but it puts it in perspective. Like if I did something creatively, like let's say like my album comes out or whatever, or and they're talking to like older relatives or something like that.
Yeah.
Derek got a music video. Derek got a such and such, and like instead of just being like, hey, here's a link, watch it later.
Yeah.
They're like, let's play it right now.
Yeah.
Watch it with me, Derek. Come here and watch it with your great uncle who's 80 years old who don't know what the fuck is going on. And I feel bad because I don't want to say anything because I don't want to seem like I'm ungrateful that they're trying to show love or whatever. But it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah. All right. What is your least favorite candy and why?
I don't know what the candy would be, but I know what it makes me feel like. Any candy. And I used to joke with my dad about this, and this is why the Inspiration Channel, they love it so much because they watch nothing but old school Westerns.
Yeah.
But Cracker Barrel was my dad's favorite spot because that little shopping area before you get in there, that's his entire childhood. And so he would buy like all this candy that was like popular in the 1950s or something like that. It's like, it's definitely old people candy.
Yeah.
So anytime I see candy, I don't even know what they are, but anytime I see candy that reminds me of that type of stuff, like I feel that way about ginger snaps.
Okay.
Like my dad used to have like a box of ginger snaps, and it's like there's no taste. There's no like what are we doing? Like there's other better flavors we can get out here. So anything that feels like is from the 19th century or something like that. Like I'm like, I don't want to eat this candy.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. This might be a tough one, but what is the one question that you wish I had asked you? Because people go into interviews and things like that with the intent of talking about something.
Actually, I'm a blank slate. Maybe I wish you would have said like, "What's your Cash App so I can send you some money?" What's your Cash App so I can buy this James Brown? I don't know. So, I think it's the opposite with you, man. I think that when you're working with somebody that you completely trust, I can walk in and just be like, whatever you want. I can kind of fall back and not have to like manage and produce this shit myself. Like I'm just here to do what you need me to do.
That's fair. All right. And the last one is, what's the one question you're glad I didn't ask you? Sort of goes along with the same, I think.
Anything about like embarrassing dating or love stories and stuff like that. Those are always really sad for me. But yeah.
Well, then next time.
Oh shit! And I set myself up. See how you did that?
All right. Preach Jacobs. Of course, the location here is SoulHAUS. It's located 1223 Lincoln Street here in Columbia, South Carolina, so make sure to come and check it out. Wrecka Sundays are from 12 to 3. Make sure to follow Preach on Instagram so that you'll know exactly when those are going on.
Absolutely.
As well as anything else that's going on.
Again, we have the MLK event at the Aristocrat. My moniker is called Mo Better Souls, so it's called Mo Better Soul Law Sessions. It's going to be some vinyl playing. It's going to be me and a couple of DJs. It's going to be a really, really great menu for MLK Day, a fish fry, and some really cool drink stuff on there. It's free. The Aristocrat is a really, really dope spot. Really cool jazz lounge type of spot, and doing some fly stuff in there. And it's free. Pull up, hear some music, eat some food, have some drinks.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
That's going to be really cool. All right. Thank you for being here, Preach.
All right, man.
Appreciate
Thank you for having me.
This is going to be episode number 189. Thank you very much, Preach, for being here. Link to episodes, podcast platforms, and merchandise, social media are all available on our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. If you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger and support the show monthly? Members can get early access to episodes as well as exclusive content, or you can give us a one-time donation through our tips link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533. You can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com, or you can join our Discord server. Links are available at allaboutnothing.com. Thank you very much, everybody. You all stay safe and have a great week.
Peace.
The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Gruber, or visit my Linktree /Barrett Gruber. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available, including memberships that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. To find links to our social media, merchandise, and past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you can call and leave us a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our partner podcast. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Me takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland. Available on all the podcast platforms. Visit WTWLpod.com for details. As well, you can listen to the political and social conversation between Dr. Jamela Brooks and Bill Kimmler on Black, White, and Blue in the South. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2024, all rights reserved. This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is brought to you by Blank Canvas Brand. If you own a business, restaurant, or sports team and you're ready to shake things up with that new, unique image, you need to use Blank Canvas Brand. Blank Canvas specializes in brand identity, including logos and graphics for business cards, flyers, banners, and signs. Blank Canvas offers printing services to help with your clothing needs. Look, when it comes to talent and service, there is no one better. For more information, you can search Facebook for Blank Canvas, or you can email blankcanvas@theallaboutnothing.com. That's BLNKCANVS at theallaboutnothing.com. You can find links in the Friends of the Pod section of our website. Visit theallaboutnothing.com.